Hello everyone and welcome to another very nice game that was played in round 1 of the FIDE World Blitz Championship last year. You guys requested it quite a lot, as Magnus, when he actually arrived to the game, he only had 30 seconds on the clock. I think he made his first move with 29 seconds on the clock, and the game starts with both players having 3 minutes. Now, as I understand it, Magnus was skiing in the day before the day. Prior to this game being played, Magnus won the World Rapid Championship, and now there are 2 days of Blitz, and Magnus went skiing in the morning. He was late due to an accident. I don't think it was his accident, or rather the accident of the car that he was in. I think it was a general accident that happened somewhere on the road. That's why he was late for the first game, but he arrived, and here there's even a nice photo of this. Let me just check it out where I have it. Yeah, there it is. Here you have it. There you can see Magnus making his first move, and he only has 31 seconds on the clock, which means that he made it with 29 seconds, and he got the 2 seconds increment, and you can see that Kovalev's clock is almost at the full 3 minute. So that being said, let's check it out and let's see what Magnus can do with 30 seconds on the clock, meaning pretty much that he will have to play the entire game on increment. Make a move, gain 2 seconds, make a move, gain 2 seconds, otherwise he's gonna run out of time very, very quickly. So Kovalev with e4, Magnus replies with e6, he goes for the French defense, d4, d5, and now Kovalev plays e captures on d5, which is not the way to seek advantage with white playing against the French, but it is maybe a way to get a nice clean draw against Magnus, especially since he's been late for the game. He only has 30 seconds on the clock, making him fight for a win here with black in a position that's pretty much a well-known draw. Is definitely the way to go. But okay, e captures on d5, we have knight f3, bishop to d6, and now pawn to c4. We have knight to f6, knight to c3, and here Magnus castles. And here Kovalev really started spending time on the clock, calculating whether it's okay or not to capture the pawn on d5. And at the moment that he captures it, he was already down to 1 minute and 21 seconds on the clock, and Magnus was still up to some 35 seconds. Now, some people were saying that Kovalev was being fair and he was letting his own time run out, sort of to equalize his time with Magnus's, but I have no way of confirming if this is actually true, or was he just studying the position very deeply. So here he plays c captures on d5, like I said, but probably best way is to play c5 if he wants to keep the tension, if he wants to gain as much as possible from the game. Let's say rook e8 check, freeing up the f8 square for the bishop, bishop to f8, and now let's say castles and bishop to f5, stopping rook to b1. White will play the usual a3 b4, and it's a pretty nice position for both. But in the game, c captures on d5 was played. He wins the pawn temporarily, and Magnus will of course go after the pawn with the knight. So here, rook to e8 check, bishop to e2, and now knight b to d7. And here, what's amazing about this position is that even though Magnus started the game with only 30 seconds on the clock, here he plays knight b to d7, he gains his 2 seconds increment, and then he doesn't hit the clock. He first perfectly aligns all of the pieces to the center of their squares, and only then does he hit the clock. So obviously it's something that means a lot to him. So here we have castles by Kovalev, and now h6. Here the position has been reached before. Known moves are something like bishop c4, bishop to b5, knight to b5 is a known move, but here we have rook to e1, and it is now as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. Just a second, I have to let Medo in the room. There we go. Alright, so rook to e1, completely new game, and now we have knight to b6. Magnus now goes after the d5 pawn, and now knight to e5, and this marks the moment where Kovalev also falls below the 1 minute mark. We have knight b captures on d5, bishop to f3 now putting pressure on the knight, and just c6 by Magnus. We have queen to b3. With queen to b3, Kovalev now drops down to 22 seconds on the clock. Magnus still some 20 28 seconds on the clock. We have queen to b6. Magnus now wants to go into the endgame. Knight captures on d5, knight captures on d5, bishop captures on d5, c captures on d5, and now Kovalev trades. Captures, the queens get traded off the board, and bishop to d2. And now we have this position where Magnus has a doubled b pawn, but this also means that he has a semi-open a file for his rook. So f6, chasing away the knight, knight to d3, and now rook captures on e1. We have bishop captures on e1. Kovalev captured this with 2 seconds on the clock, and now he is playing the rest of the game on increment as well. Rook to a4 by Magnus, going after the d4 pawn, and now bishop to c3, bishop to f5, putting pressure on the knight, and now knight to e1. And here, king to f7. Also b5, b4 is a very nice idea. We have a3 now, and Magnus plays b5. We have rook to c1, and now rook to c4 by Magnus, and here Kovalev plays rook to d1. Both of them playing pretty much instantly, and here Magnus has a completely winning move. He can play bishop captures on a3, which will, I mean, if b captures on a3, then you pick up the bishop. On c3, you attack the a3 pawn. If white defends that, you go after the c4 pawn. This would be completely winning for Magnus. But here, as they were so low on time, I believe Magnus's brain was in complete strategy mode. So he was not looking for tactics. Even if you know, this tactic was screaming, Magnus would not see it, as he was trying to position everything perfectly for a nice strategical maybe winning scenario. So here he plays pawn to b4, a captures, bishop captures, and now bishop captures, rook captures. He goes now into a rook and bishop versus rook and knight endgame. Rook to d2 defending, and now pawn to g5. We have f3, pawn to h5, king f2, and now pawn to h4. Both players still very much playing on increment. g3, we have h captures on g3, h captures, and king to e6. Now we have knight to g2, king to d6, and now knight to e3, going after the bishop. So bishop to e6, king to e2, and now rook to b3. We have king to f2, and now rook to b4. King to e2, Kovalev offers a draw with the repetition here, and Magnus declines. Rook to a4. We have king to f2, bishop to d7, and now pawn to g4. We have rook to a1, and now rook to d1, offering a trade of rooks. Magnus declines, and rook back to d2. And only now Magnus starts advancing the b pawn. Pawn to b5, king to e2, now pawn to b4. We have king to d3, trying to get the king all the way to harass the rook, and now bishop to b5 check, king to c2, and bishop to c4, nicely controlling all of the squares here. King to b1, and now rook all the way back to a8. You have to move the rook. There's the threat of knight captures on c4, just removing the defender of the rook. So rook to a8, we have king to c2, and now rook to e8, putting pressure on the knight. Knight captures on c4. Here, Kovalev succumbs to time pressure. You have to keep everything on the board. Knight f5 check, for example, king c6, and now you play anything, and you keep the tension. But after knight captures on c4, this allows Magnus to gain the advantage here. Now he gets the 2 pawns here, and at some point it will be possible to create a pass pawn. So here, pawn to d5, we have rook to e3 by Magnus. We have rook to d4, now going after the pawn here, just pawn to b3 with check, king to d2, and now rook captures on f3, rook captures on c4, and now king captures on d5. Now Magnus is up a pawn, rook to b4, and now king to c5, getting the rook out of either attacking the b3 pawn or even defending the g4 pawn. So rook to a4, and now rook to f4, offering a trade of rooks. Of course, if you trade here, the endgame is completely winning for black. It seems like you can reach the f4 pawn, but not really. King f3, king to e5, you defend, and now there is nothing. You have to move king back, king to e4, king f2, now f3, and there are no moves. You cannot push the pawn, and you have to move the king. So after rook rook to f4, we have rook to a6, and now we have king to d4. Rook to d6 with check, king to e5, rook to b6, and only now rook captures on g4. We have rook captures on b3, and rook to g2 check. Now Magnus with 2 connected passed pawns is in a completely winning position. Of course, king e1, g4, we have rook to b8, and here pawn to f5. We have pawn to b4, and Magnus just puts the rook behind the passed pawn. We have rook to b2, and it was in this position on move 59 that Vladislav Kovalev resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Magnus wins the first Blitz game after winning the World Rapid Championship, which is quite nice, as he only had 29 seconds when he actually started the game. Now, if you're interested how to win this, it's fairly easy. You just push those pawns. Let's say b5, g3. You're gonna play king to f1 to stop g2 check. Still g2 check, king g1, f4, and now once the pawn reaches f3, the g2 pawn will be defended, and rook to b1 check will be deadly. That's pretty much it. If b6, pawn to f3, sorry about that. If b6, pawn to f3, now you have to start checking. Rook to e8 check, but it is very easy to avoid those checks. Rook to f8 check, king to e3, you're gonna give a check here, king to d2, another check here, king to e1, and after rook to e8 check, you will block with the rook, and now that's it. f2 check will win the game, or you trade here, captures, or even better, king captures. Now you will have f2 with check, and after b7, f2 with check, king captures on g2, f1 queen, let's say king to g3, now you're gonna play queen f3 check, king to h2, and you can choose either you capture the pawn or you prepare checkmate, either is fine. You can even allow white to bring a queen into the game, and now you checkmate the white king. So that's one way to do it, but of course Kovalev knows this, and there is no point in continuing the game. But yeah, a lot of people were saying that Kovalev purposefully allowed his time to run out, sort of to equalize his time with Magnus. I don't know if this is true. I have no way of confirming this, and it doesn't seem like something anyone should do, but then again, it is definitely possible. And I don't know, if Magnus was on time and this was the position on the board, I seriously doubt that Kovalev would go for e captures on d5, even though, okay, it's the exchange variation of the French. I've seen it being played in Blitz on a top level, but I don't know, maybe not the greatest attempt at going for advantage with white against Magnus. But okay, it's Blitz. Who knows why anyone does anyone. Magnus showed that he can pretty much play an increment for the entire game, and that one moment you give him a chance of advantage, he will take it. Even though he missed that hero after rook to d1, he missed this bishop captures an a3 idea. But like I said, I think that was just because his mind was so focused on going for strategical ideas that he wasn't even considering such things. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. A lot of you suggested it, as it is, I mean, just very nice how with 30 seconds you can beat someone with 3 minutes. It's not the first time Magnus did it. I think he did it many times. Maybe this is the first time he did it against a grandmaster of Kovalev's level. But yeah, that's what it is to play Magnus. So yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to wish a very happy birthday to Ping Pong Master Max. Obviously, if that is your nickname, you are a true master of ping pong. And I would like to thank Ben Benjamin, Yun Yang, Arun Kumar Arungumam, and Rabbit7 for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions such as this one and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you want to watch the original footage of this matchup, first link in the description below will be a video on ChessBase India's channel. Do check it out. See you soon.